There are days when your body simply refuses to respond. The alarm rings. Sunlight cuts through your curtains. Yet you lie there motionless, carrying invisible weights no one else can see. It isn't laziness. It isn't weakness. It's exhaustion, deep, spiritual exhaustion. If you've clicked on this video, understand this. It's not coincidence. You are here because you're one of the chosen. You've been silently collapsing under unseen battles, hidden prayers, and burdens no one else even notices. Your bed has become a battleground. Your room feels like a cave of isolation. Yet, even in this secret war zone, God's presence has never left you. He sits with you in the silence, unshaken, unmovable, waiting beside you in the shadows. And this moment right now, it's not your defeat. It's the preparation for a breakthrough greater than you can imagine. Before we go deeper, if this message already stirs something inside your spirit, pause for a moment. Hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't yet, and write 99 in the comments below. Spiritually, the number 99 symbolizes divine completion, an end to hidden struggles and the beginning of your restoration. Are you ready? Because what you're about to hear next will shift everything. From the outside, people see your body lying still and assume you're just resting. But they don't realize the strength it takes simply to stay alive when your soul feels like it's breaking apart. They don't hear the thoughts echoing inside your mind. They don't feel the crushing pressure on your chest before your day even begins. They don't see the unseen battle raging beneath the covers, where the enemy has learned how to attack in silence. You're not in bed because you're lazy. You're not withdrawing because you've surrendered. You're lying there because you're fighting to remain human in a world that tries to break you at every level. No one knows how many nights you've saved yourself in the dark, with no audience, no applause, no recognition. This is the battle no one talks about, the quiet war fought in stillness. The emotional combat behind closed doors. The mental struggle that leaves no visible scars, yet shatters you within. People throw out phrases like, "Just get up," "Shake it off," "Pray harder." But they don't know that standing up can feel like climbing a mountain without air. That prayer sometimes feels like whispering into a void with no echo. That, shaking it off, requires strength you haven't had for weeks. You've become an expert at hiding it. Smiling while screaming inside. Functioning when your body is ready to collapse. Showing up when every part of you wants to disappear. But here's the truth. What the world calls weakness, heaven calls resistance. What looks like avoidance is, in fact, warfare. Chosen ones don't always fight with swords. Sometimes your greatest weapon is simply deciding to stay alive one more day. To breathe again tomorrow. To refuse to answer when darkness calls your name. Even when your body doesn't rise, your spirit refuses to die. Some victories happen without movement. Some miracles are born in silence. And if you're hearing this right now, it's proof you've already survived nights that would have destroyed most people. But don't settle just yet, because in the next few moments, you'll understand why this battle is so personal, and what it's really trying to keep you from stepping into. And once you see that truth, you'll never look at your exhaustion the same way again. They told you that if you had strong faith, you wouldn't feel this way. That if you trusted God enough, you wouldn't feel numb, confused, or detached. They convinced you that spiritual strength means smiling through the storm, praying without pause, rising without hesitation. But that's not reality. That's performance. What you're experiencing is not a lack of faith, it's evidence that you've been standing on the front lines of a spiritual war for too long without backup. Let me say this clearly, even the anointed get tired. Even the called collapse. Even those chosen by heaven cry out in silence when no one else is watching. Remember Elijah? The prophet who called down fire from heaven ended up hiding in a cave, begging God to take his life. Jeremiah wept so deeply, they called him the weeping prophet. And Jesus, yes, even Jesus, felt the crushing weight of his mission in Gethsemane so strongly that his sweat turned into blood. So why do you believe your fatigue disqualifies you? Why assume that being tired means you're no longer chosen? That's a lie. Your exhaustion doesn't make you weak, it makes you real. It makes you human. It makes you honest before God. You've been holding it together for too long, praying for others while no one prays for you, standing strong for people who would never carry you in return. You've answered calls, dried tears, and lifted spirits, while your own soul has been quietly unraveling. This is the hidden fatigue of the chosen. And it isn't because you're doing something wrong, it's because you're carrying something sacred. Chosen ones are not born out of comfort. They are forged in pressure. You've been stretched, drained, and pushed to your limits, not because you're weak, but because God entrusted you with something too heavy for the ordinary. But here's the truth that changes everything: you were never meant to carry it alone. Even Jesus needed help to carry the cross. So why do you keep proving your strength by suffering in silence? That exhaustion you feel, it isn't failure. It's an invitation. An invitation to slow down. To release. To stop pretending you're fine when you're bleeding behind the scenes. To fall into the arms of the one who knows you're tired, yet never shames you for it. There is a kind of rest this world cannot give. A peace that doesn't come from simply closing your eyes, but from finally laying down what you were never meant to carry alone. And when you surrender, when you stop trying to prove your worth through endless performance, something inside of you begins to shift. But don't mistake it. That shift doesn't always arrive with fireworks. Sometimes it comes softly, in a whisper, in a sigh, in the sacred stillness between collapse and breakthrough. And in this next part, I want to show you where your true enemy hides. It's not always on the outside. Sometimes it's the voice inside your own mind. And once you recognize it, the battle changes forever. For most people, the bed is a place of peace, a sanctuary for rest, where the body lies down and the mind releases. But for the chosen ones, the bed often becomes something else entirely. It is not just a mattress, not just pillows and sheets. It turns into a battlefield. Because when the noise of the world finally fades, that's when the whispers begin. The enemy doesn't always shout. He whispers. And his whispers sound like your own thoughts. You're not enough. You're falling behind. You're a burden. God's forgotten you. Lying there in the stillness, with the lights off and your heart racing, those whispers don't feel like lies, they feel like truth. It's in bed that fear sharpens its teeth. Depression settles over your chest like a suffocating blanket. The silence grows so loud that it drowns out every scripture you ever learned. And you start to wonder, is this how life will always be? The place that should bring rest begins to feel like a cage. Every attempt to rise is met with invisible chains pulling you back into the spiral. But here's what others can't see: you are not just lying there. You are fighting. Not against flesh and blood, but against spirits of discouragement, despair, and sabotage. You are not resting. You are resisting. And while the enemy uses your bed as a place to torment you at your most vulnerable, he never counted on this. God meets you there, too. Yes, the same God who parted seas and raised the dead has been sitting quietly on the edge of that very bed. Not condemning you. Not scolding you. Simply staying. Remaining present. Holding the silence with you when words are too heavy. He's the one who catches the tears you can't explain. The one who heard you whisper, "I can't do this anymore." The one who saw the moment you curled up and prayed without words, "God, please just hold me." You didn't need fancy prayers. You didn't need perfect words. You didn't need strength. Because sometimes the most powerful prayer is nothing more than a muffled cry into a pillow soaked with unseen warfare. And God answered. He answered with mercy, sending angels to fight battles you didn't even know were raging. He answered with peace, not erasing the pain, but giving you just enough breath to wake up the next morning. He answered with grace, covering you when shame shouted that you weren't worthy. Because even on your worst days, especially on your worst days, He refuses to leave. This isn't just your bed. It's your altar. Your battlefield. You're living proof that you can survive nights when darkness surrounds you but your purpose still calls your name. And here's the hidden twist. The very place where the enemy whispers loudest is often the same place where your purpose is being shaped in silence. So do not underestimate the war that happens between the sheets. Because what looks like isolation is often initiation. And in the next part, we'll dive even deeper into why your soul feels things others can't explain, and how that very sensitivity may be the clue to unlocking who you are destined to become. Stay close, because your sensitivity is not a curse. It is a spiritual key. You've walked into rooms and instantly felt the shift. No one said a word. No one looked at you differently. But something inside of you knew the atmosphere had changed. The air grew heavier, the energy sharper, your chest tighter, and you couldn't explain why, because no one else noticed. But you did. There have been mornings when you woke up with a heaviness that didn't belong to you. Sorrow that wasn't yours. Anxiety that came from nowhere. Emotional storms that arrived without warning. And you've asked yourself, what's wrong with me? But hear me clearly, there is nothing wrong with you. You are not too sensitive. You are not overreacting. You are spiritually tuned, wired by God to detect what others cannot. And gifts like this always come with a cost. You weren't created to blend into crowds unnoticed. You were designed to walk into atmospheres and shift them, without needing to say a word. To sense oppression in someone's soul before they even admit they're hurting. To detect deception behind polished smiles. To sense danger before it arrives. To pick up signals others have ignored. This is why shallow conversations drain you. Why small talk feels unbearable. Why you crave depth, silence, and truth. Why certain people suddenly feel heavy to be around. You were never meant to be ordinary. You were meant to see what is hidden. But with that sight comes a unique kind of pain. Because when you feel deeply, you often carry burdens that were never yours. You grieve over things others laugh about. You pray for those who mock you. You cry for people who would never cry for you. And sometimes, you withdraw, not because you're broken, but because your spirit is overwhelmed by everything it has absorbed. This is why rest doesn't always restore you. Because sleep cannot erase spiritual downloads. Only presence can. Only time with God can quiet the overload, because He alone understands the language of your sensitivity. You are not unstable. You are not too emotional. You are prophetically tuned. You hear heaven louder. You notice spiritual attacks before most people even sense them. You carry divine grief while others are still distracted by gossip, noise, and shallow entertainment. And the enemy knows something. If he can convince you that your sensitivity is a weakness, he can silence your discernment. He can dull your awareness. He can make you believe the lie that you're simply too emotional to be effective. But here's the truth. Your sensitivity is your signal. It is how heaven speaks through you. It is how angels warn you. It is how the Spirit guides you into places others are too blind to go. You were never called to live an ordinary life. Ordinary people don't feel the atmosphere shift when they walk into a room. Ordinary people don't wake up weeping for nations. Ordinary people don't cry out for souls they've never met. You are spiritually awake. Spiritually charged. Spiritually dangerous to the kingdom of darkness. Yes, it's exhausting. Yes, it feels isolating. Yes, you are misunderstood more often than not. But it's part of your design, part of your calling, part of what makes you unstoppable once you accept it fully. So the next time someone says, "You're too sensitive," smile. Because what they call sensitivity, heaven calls a divine instrument of perception. And now, let's uncover the final war you've been fighting. The one that doesn't just attack your strength but tries to steal your very will to keep going. Once you understand why that battle has intensified, you'll never question your worth again. This is the part no one dares to speak of, the thoughts you've rehearsed silently but never voiced aloud. That aching question, what if I just disappeared? Not for attention. Not for drama. But because life felt too heavy, too loud, too much. You've imagined silence, not peace, but absence. Not healing, but vanishing. Days when even breathing felt like a burden. When even your own name sounded foreign in your mouth. When the world kept spinning, but you longed to step off. But listen closely, that urge does not make you broken. It doesn't make you ungrateful. It doesn't make you weak. It makes you human, human under the crushing weight of carrying divine assignments on a soul that has been bleeding in secret. You've been the strong one. The one who holds everyone else together while falling apart yourself. The one who smiles, delivers, uplifts, while silently screaming for someone to notice that you're not okay. The truth is this: you became tired not because you lack discipline, but because you've been fighting alone for far too long. Spiritual isolation is real. And for the chosen, it is especially heavy. Your battles are too sacred to explain. Your burdens too divine to be carried by just anyone. You don't just fight for yourself, you fight for generations. For legacies. For things others mock because they can't understand the cost of carrying a mantle like yours. And in that exhaustion, the enemy waits. He doesn't need to destroy you outright. He just wants you to lay down your destiny. But even when everything in you whispered, "Let go," something inside flickered. A breath. A whisper. A pulse that refused to die. That flicker is sacred. It's the ember God planted in you before you were even born. The fire that whispers, "Not yet. Don't quit. There's still more." You may not feel strong. You may not feel holy. You may not even feel awake. But the fact that you are still here, still breathing, still listening, proves your story is not over. You don't have to rise with perfection. You don't have to rise with all the answers. You don't even have to rise with energy. You just have to rise with willingness. Even if your hands shake. Even if your eyes are swollen from crying. Even if your voice trembles, rise anyway. Because the enemy's greatest fear was never your fall. It was your comeback. He is terrified that you will rise from the ashes with fire in your eyes and testimony in your mouth. That you will return stronger, wiser, louder, and more dangerous to his kingdom than ever before. You thought about giving up. But what if the very moment you almost let go was the moment right before everything shifted? Stay here, because in this conclusion, I will reveal why all of this pain has been leading somewhere, and why your survival has never been random. It's been prophetic. You've carried enough. Now it's time to walk into what was always meant for you. Listen to me. If today your only victory was opening your eyes and whispering, "God, I'm still here," then you've already conquered what crushed others. Heaven saw it. Hell feared it. The earth felt it. Because when a chosen one rises, even in silence, even in slow motion, the spirit realm trembles. You didn't survive this long to go unnoticed. You weren't carried through fire just to return to hiding. That bed was never your prison, it was your proving ground. That silence wasn't your shame, it was your sacred cocoon. And your exhaustion was never weakness, it was evidence that you've been wrestling with angels. And now, just like Jacob, your name is about to change. You are not lazy. You are not broken. You are not too far gone. You are becoming. Becoming the version of yourself that darkness tried to kill. Becoming the voice you once needed to hear. Becoming the light that cracks open rooms full of despair. Every tear was a seed. Every silence a sentence in your testimony. Every breakdown a blueprint for your rise. So when you stand, even if you stagger, you are fulfilling prophecy. You are activating power. You are walking in resurrection. God never abandoned you in that bed. He sat beside you. He fought for you. He waited with you. And now, He rises with you. So rise, chosen one. Not because you feel ready, but because you are called. Not because you feel strong, but because your assignment cannot wait another day. Even if you rise in pieces, you are still rising with power. Declare it right now in the comments, I choose to rise. Let heaven record it. Let hell tremble. Let every lying voice go silent. Because you are not done. You're just getting started. And the next time your feet touch the floor, the earth itself will remember that a warrior just stood up. Get ready, because from this moment on, everything shifts.